Okay, so as I said, we're going to be talking about goal setting, time management, as well as academic skills today. We'll start off with goal setting and time management because that is kind of the basis for everything. I guess two of the most important things you'll need to be successful in college. So we'll go ahead and get started and let's see. Okay, so obviously goals help you to stay on track, anticipate the future, and organize your behavior so you are accomplishing what you need to accomplish in school, in work, in life. So they're important. Goals are important for all of us in probably every aspect of our lives. So goals, I'm sure some of you have heard about SMART goals. You'll be reading about that in the materials, the assignments this week, for this week. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. Are you all familiar with SMART goals? Do any of you use that process for setting your goals? Allie, I see you nodding. Do you use SMART goals?
I've heard of this act before.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anybody else?
I have not. I'm not familiar with SMART goal.
Okay, good. So we'll hopefully this will be helpful to you. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. You want to be able to set your goal in a way that you can, you know exactly what the goal is and how you're going to get there. You're setting a specific goal or intention, if you will, and you're making it measurable. What is going to, how do you know when you've achieved this goal? And within which period of time are you giving yourself? How long do you have to achieve the goal? So it's very, they are very important. So there are a couple of different kinds of goals. The first is cognitive, when you are, or a couple of different, I guess, things that go into creating your goals, cognitive and behavioral. So in terms of cognitive, you're thinking about your weekly goals and how to problem solve. You may also have, all of us have more long-term goals. So it's not just weekly, what assignments do I have due this week? Or what work do I need to get done today? But where do you want to be in 5 years? What are your goals for getting into maybe a program at the medical education campus, or maybe a transfer to a 4-year school, or maybe achieving your AS or AA degree at Nova? So what are your goals and what time frame do you want to achieve those goals in? So the behavioral component of this is what you need to do to make this happen, to achieve your goals. And this information is all in the Student Lingo readings. You all have access to Student Lingo via your in Canvas, and you just need to make sure that you have signed in and created an account for yourself, because we will be referring to that as we go through the course. So a subjective goal, an example of a subjective goal might be, I want to get an A on an assignment. So that's your kind of long-term goal. You're going to complete the time management assignment this week, and you're going to have an A in that. You're going to get an A in that. So what do you need to achieve that goal? You need to focus. You need to read the material. You need to look over the presentation from today's class. You need to set yourself up for success. So what do you need to do to reach that end result of getting an A on this particular assignment? For larger goals, like when you want to be done at Nova, when you want to move on to another school or get that job or whatever, you're going to need to kind of have building blocks for all the goals, the kind of the steps that you need to achieve along the way of pursuing your goal. Any questions so far about this or comments? So write your goals down. That's a very good tactic to keep them in front of you. And so you can check yourself and see how you are progressing toward meeting that goal that you've set. So one example, a very simple example of a SMART goal would be, I will study for my Bio 141 class for 1 hour each day for 12 weeks. So that you can see that that's a very specific goal that pertains to a specific class. And it's relevant because it's helping you frame your time so you are you're making the most of that 12-week class or however long you would be in the class. So this is a specific, measurable, achievable, time-based and relevant goal for you to set. So look at some of these quotes. So that the basis of your kind of your time management schedule and the way you're going to organize your time is going to be kind of, I guess, based on, if you will, on your goals. So these are the goals you want to set. So you need to make sure that your time management is in good shape and is effective for moving you toward achieving those goals. So with these, do any of you connect with any of the quotes that you see on the screen right now? It seems like I study, but I don't remember a thing. I don't have as much time as I need to study all the material. I don't know what to study. Take a look at these quotes. And if you can, through the reactions button at the bottom of your screen in Zoom, if you can just, thumbs up or heart or something on any of the quotes that resonate with you in terms of time management. Are you able to do that? Do you see the reaction buttons? Yes, Kiki? Are you just indicating?
Sorry, I was gonna say, I kind of resonate with you. I feel like I've forgotten how to study because I was studying for another course over the weekend, which has a lot of specific terminology, and I found myself just writing down verbatim everything that was in the text, which obviously doesn't work either.
Right, yeah.
So it's just kind of figuring out the actual, I don't know, things that I need to write down as opposed to just parroting everything.
So you were writing down everything that you were reading and
so all of the terms, it's a medical terminology course, and I don't know that I needed to write down everything and ended up taking like 10 pages. And I was like, there's no way that this helped me study. I think I'm just reading and writing and reading and writing as opposed to retaining.
Right, yeah. So once you've done that, you've gone through that once, what mechanisms or what strategies do you have that you will use now to review the information that you wrote down?
I think something that is going to help me a lot, one is I'm getting flashcards so I don't take up as
great.
much
We're going to
notebook space.
Yeah.
And then also I'm going to read it through a few times as opposed to the first time I read it, writing down notes for it. I'm going to go over a few times and see, okay, this is actually pertinent and this is just, filler.
Good. Great. Anybody else have any comments or suggestions or reactions to any of these comments on the screen? Do any of you feel like you don't know what to study when you're preparing for a test? Hunter, you have your hand raised.
I would say that one of them that kind of resonates with me would probably feeling like I don't have as much time as I need to study all the material. I try to carve out like a solid block in the evening because I work early in the morning to early afternoon. So I try to carve out a solid block in pretty much every evening to go over my courses. Whichever one feels heaviest is kind of like what I'll do first, what I feel like is going to be the most like time consuming.
Sure, that makes sense.
But sometimes I'm maybe not progressing as much as I would like, and then I kind of have like that mental block where I'm like, oh no, like it's 9 o'clock at night. you know, I got to be
Mhm.
up and, at 4:30. So, so it's like, oh man,
Then it puts more
so
stress on you and you're probably not quite as focused as you need to be at that
yeah,
point.
yeah, it becomes, like I said, it's more like a personal, like mental block because then I get fixated on like, all right, how many hours of sleep am I getting? And then as I go deeper in the night, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have 5 hours of sleep. I'm gonna have, 6. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's something that I probably struggle with.
Hmm.
It's
Good,
just,
thank you. I mean, not
yeah,
good that you're struggling with it, but good, definitely good advice there.
yeah.
Anyone else have any suggestions or issues with any of these connections with any of these quotes? Nancy?
I think for me especially, what works the best is like studying right before right when I wake up early in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of times I leave like my computer right next to my bed, so if first thing I see even before seeing my phone will be the computer. Right, review for an hour, and then that's when I'm like I guess more awake.
Mm-hmm. You're the freshest in the morning, and yeah.
Yeah.
But that could also be tricky, having your laptop right there, just as, we're not supposed to look at our phones at night either. But if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're tempted to open that up and start reading or studying, that's going to disturb your sleep, which you also need. So it's, I guess, a discipline issue. Can't be tempted and give in to that to be studying in the middle of the night. So it's good if you feel that you're awake and alert and ready to learn at the first thing in the morning. That's perfect if that works for you.
Sorry, I guess what works is like resetting my brain. Like if I have to study for long hours, I would take a nap in between. That also works.
That's great.
Like
Yes.
10 minutes, 15 minutes nap, and then I get back to study, and it kind of works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, naps do serve a purpose, that's for sure. Allie, you have your hand raised.
I was just gonna agree with Hunter. Like I work a lot and sometimes I have to ask them like, can you cut me early? Like I have a lot of work like for school to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll be up till 2 in the morning. Thankfully I don't have to work as early as he does, but because I'll be there at like 2, but then I'll get off at midnight. So I get my stuff done. I remember that I have to get it done before or after work so that it gives myself enough time to like leave school important just as much as my job.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot to juggle the jobs and a job and school and family and all of those responsibilities that we have. And there's nothing worse. I think it's very, you're looking at the clock and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you have a 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock class and you're trying to get everything done or study. And watching that time tick away is very stressful, at least for me, when I'm in that situation, which doesn't help anything. G, you have your hand up?
Yes, other students I also agree, and in my case, I am 실피가 아니겠지. I am working full time, so I try to don't compare myself to others and focus on my own patterns, and find and use my spare time to plan in detail. Thank you.
So that sounds pretty organized. Does that work well for you? Okay, good. Anybody else have any comments on any of the quotes? Sabrine.
Yeah, like for me, in my opinion, like it doesn't matter like whenever the time or something like that. Like it's just all about mindset. Like if I want it, I have to work on it. Like I might study in the morning or in the nighttime. So if I want like my grade to be A, I have to work on it. So that's my opinion.
Right. So that gets you organized to get get the study
Yeah,
accomplished
it's
or the
like my
assignment.
motivation. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Salam?
Sorry,
Yes.
for me, I procrastinate a lot. I always tell myself like I can do it. Let me go to work now, and then to come back, and then it would take me like a longer time than I should. Sometimes like I miss my assignments,
Mm,
and I put more work on myself basically.
right.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, I stress myself out. It's just me, no problem.
It's hard. It's not easy balancing everything. Nirvana?
Yes, for me, I'm in the same situation because I have classes, I work full time, I have baby 2 years now.
Oh my.
I have examined my work, I have to finish it within 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'm trying to study after my baby sleep at night in the night time. So yeah, I'm trying to manage my time. It's too much stuff every day. It's too hard.
Yes. Raising a baby, a 2-year-old is a full-time job in and of
Yeah,
itself. So yeah,
full
you're
job now.
balancing. Definitely. Okay, thank you all for your comments and participation. So what do you think after, we talked about this for a little bit, what do you think the most important skill, the number one most important skill is for academic success?
Time management.
Who said that?
Oh, Salam, sorry.
Salam, you're absolutely right. Time management is the number one skill. And it's the most important thing, one of the most important things you can do to create to have a successful experience in college or for any other goal that you have set out to accomplish. I'm going to stop my video for a minute so I can turn to the side here. So we're going to talk about that. And your assignment this week, one of the assignments is to create a calendar, a schedule for yourself that includes all of your classes, all of your family and home responsibilities, your work, and how you fit that all in on a weekly basis or actually a semester basis. So as this slide says, prioritize your studying. Being a student is your job. If only it were your only job, right? I mean, we've already said that we have so many competing priorities, but you're at Nova, you have your goal to complete a program or a degree program or to apply to a program. So this is at the top of your priority list, a successful college experience. So if you look at this cost schedule, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? This includes, let's see, breakfast, classes, study time. Is this detailed enough? What do you think? Would this be helpful to you? Nancy, it would be?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do with my
Okay.
schedule.
So what's missing from the schedule though? It has classes,
Lunchtime.
Work.
work, what else? Family,
Social life.
right? Yeah, that too. It's basically just providing the classes. That's the focus of this. So how about these schedules? A little better, right? It's including sleep time, church time, meals, study time, and homework time. So these are a little bit better in that they provide a little more detail and include other aspects of your lives instead of not just class time. It has study time built in for the class, for the students' courses. It has family time, talk to mom time. I think that's great. And so a better example of what should be included in your schedules. Nancy, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, that sketch is making me anxious. That's a lot.
What's making you anxious?
The new schedule. I like the previous one better.
Oh, these are too busy for you or too?
It is. It's overwhelming for me.
Yeah. I can understand that. How about this one? Is this a little more manageable? It's not very colorful.
I like the colors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes my brain off of how much is going on the schedule.
Yeah, this kind of, to me, doesn't look as confusing, or I don't know. I like this format a little bit better.
I agree with the like with the concept of organizing a schedule and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
in the previous slide it kind of showed like just like 30 minutes for like socializing, which or like things like that, like in the bottom, hold on, which one was it? Yeah, or sorry, in this one on the left, like towards the bottom right, it's just like from 8 to 9 socialize. And I think when you have like
Right
things like
here.
that, it's like I said, I understand having a schedule, but for these
Oops.
things that are maybe like, I don't know, in the moment in a way, I just don't understand. I feel like it would get to a point where it's maybe like you're micromanaging a little too much to write down things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're just, maybe you just have better time management than me, if that was something else.
No, I can see that. I mean, are you going to really stick to that?
Yeah, or
Or is it reasonable to expect, you start socializing with your friends or doing something with them at 8 and then you're done at 9 and on to
yeah,
homework? Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Like, do you have like an alarm set where you're like, it's time to start socializing?
right. I don't think, I certainly don't have anything like that, but it's good to include it, I think. So
Yeah,
because the goal of this and this assignment that you'll be working on is to create a balanced schedule. So you are allowing time for friends and family, hobbies, that sort of thing. This one to me would not work. It's a little bit too much. What do you guys think? I think it's difficult to read. I guess I don't like the format of this particular one. Any comments on this?
I don't like it. It looks overwhelming.
Yeah, I think I feel that way too.
No.
So, okay, so we will move on from this one. So how are you going to do your calendar, your schedule? One of the suggestions is to take your syllabus, all your course syllabi, indicate all the important dates for homework, projects, long-term assignments, include all your quizzes, tests, exams, etc. Then, so you start with your academic schedule. Oh my gosh, I just put my elbow on the keyboard. Sorry, guys. I will go back here. Oh, that was clumsy, huh? I'll get back there. Then you add in any family obligations, extracurricular events. If you are into, I mean, we all need to schedule some relaxation time and exercise time to be physically active, socialization. So add those things in, and then you're going to, the time management assignment that you'll be doing, you're going to write all of those things down. You're going to include all of those in your calendar. And we'll go through that before the end of class. So writing down all of your commitments on a weekly calendar so you can see where your time is going and how you can, as you go through this process, you may tweak things to make them, make it more sensible for you, more realistic for you. Currently, do you all, as a rule, keep a calendar or schedule or anything as, I guess, detailed as this, or is it more general in terms of just school? I think somebody had mentioned that before.
Mine's more general, just like at school, important days like quizzes and homework assignments.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Maria, you have your hand raised?
I actually have like a big calendar on my wall with
Hmm.
the general information and
Hmm.
then an agenda with a weekly on like homeworks and appointments.
Okay, great. And that works pretty well for you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So what you're also going to be reading a bit this week about learning styles. So how do you make your calendar, your planner available, accessible to you with an eye towards your learning style? Are you more of a, do you like to see things detailed and in writing, or are you more of a digital person? I mean, how can you make this work for you? So you have to consider your learning style. Are you mainly a visual learner? Are you more kinesthetic? Which is some of the material that you'll be reading about this week. You want to probably give additional time additional time to your hardest class. And you might be able to take some time for the class that you consider easiest and put it toward studying for for the harder classes that you're taking. When do you have the most energy for studying? So keep in mind your learning style, your learning preferences, actually. And when are you some people study best in the middle of the night. Some people study best when the first thing they get up in the morning, as Nancy said. So your calendar should reflect your, consider the times of the day when you're most energetic when you are creating your calendar. We don't need specific, when this has specific questions about what time you get to campus and what time you leave campus. It's up to you how detailed you are. Those are very detailed questions. Where do you study at home? When you're thinking about studying, when you're thinking about reading, do you have a place where you can go, either in the home or go to the library or come to a campus and study? So you are able to focus on, you've allotted that time for study time, and you want to be able to maximize that time. So you want to have the time as uninterrupted as possible. Not always possible, just because of the other activities of our lives. But as I guess, just to make the most of it, try to have some place that's relatively distraction free when you are studying. Also to consider, and this is an assignment that you'll be working on later in this class, is how do you manage stress? Do you have good stress management techniques? So if you're feeling anxious about an assignment or a test that's coming up, what do you do to kind of quell that anxiety? Do you want to go out and run? Does that help you manage your stress and anxiety? Or just taking a break and reading something totally unrelated to academics? Is that helpful for you? So consider some of those questions. Allie, you have your hand up.
I usually, like, if I don't understand something, because if I have a quiz or an assignment due, I'll usually like message or like ask to meet on Zoom with the professor so that I can like fully grasp what I need to do. Like I'm taking, like, if in a math class, like if I don't understand how to do a certain type of problem, I'll set up a meeting so that I can learn, especially because my classes are all online this semester I've asked my professor to meet because there's one chapter that I just don't understand how to do any of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I like to meet with the professor because it not only like shows the initiative that you're trying to learn the information, but you're also going to help yourself in the long run.
Absolutely. That is so important that I think it's great that you feel comfortable doing that because that's what we're here for. And um, many professors post their office hours, so you can request a time to meet with them during their office hours. Some of us do not post office hours, but if you have a question about our class, please, and I indicated this last week, I believe, just send me an email and we'll schedule a time to get together. But that is a perfect thing to do, Allie, because you are face to face with your professors and you are able to, even if it's virtual face to face, and you can get those questions answered instead of just kind of putting your questions aside, and then perhaps not doing the assignment correctly or not meeting all the expectations for the assignment. So that's a great strategy. And I hope, some of you, well, many of you do that and feel comfortable reaching out to your professors. It's very important. And take advantage of those times when your professors might have, open office hours or, a study group that they'll be available to ask your questions in maybe a smaller group setting than the full class. So good. Thank you for your offering that. You're volunteering that information. It's very, very good. Good idea. Anybody else do that? Schedule time with your professors to ask questions if you're unclear about something. It's something you might want to consider if you feel comfortable doing that. And if you don't feel as comfortable meeting face-to-face with your professors, you can always use email and they can respond to you that way. Okay, back to our little presentation here. So what you want to achieve is making your schedule automatic, but you also want your schedule to be kind of a living document, if you will, in that if life throws us curveballs all the time. So if something happens, you want to be able to I guess, organize your schedule differently, perhaps for a week or something, just to get through whatever event or whatever's come up. So you need to deal with something unusual. You may have to put aside your planned study time or your plans for meeting with a study group, which we'll talk about in a minute too. Anyway, when you are in control of your schedule and of your time, as much as you can be in control, it does help to reduce anxiety, and school can be anxiety provoking enough. So as much control as you can have over the situation and managing your time, the better your experience will be. So we said earlier that time management is the most important thing for college students right now, and procrastinating is probably the most important thing to avoid, because procrastination, as it says here, is time management's enemy. I'm going to see if you can hear this. You should be able to. Let's see.
It sounds good. The reality, it's been easy getting by without a plan. But the further we move in our education, the higher the stakes. we are betting that we could meet our GPA goals without healthy study habits. Classes get harder and you may find yourself drowning in challenging coursework. And you never bother learning how to swim. How to form good study habits? First, stop comparing yourself to your friends. Think they get good grades without studying? Nope. You need to find out what works for you. And cramming like a hibernating chipmunk is not the solution. So, where to begin? Know thyself. There is no magic bullet for finding the right routine. The first thing you need to learn is how you learn. Prioritization is key, and it's an easy first step. Create a list of activities that occupy your time and rank them from highest to lowest priority. From there, you can begin managing your time. You are responsible for your success in college. Chances are, your friends aren't looking out for your grades. If they want to hang out, you have to decide, do you actually have time or do you have schoolwork? Start now. You may not have a perfect system, and systems can change. That's perfectly fine. The more you learn now about how you learn, the easier things will be. Halfway through a semester and unhappy with your grades? Ouch. That's a tough time to change your game plan. Plan early and spare yourself the grief. We've got good news. All around campus are people who can help you understand how you learn. Literally, there are resources all over campus designed to help you. Office hours provide insight for tackling a class head-on. Learning centers help with all subjects and all course levels. Schedule meeting times with supportive peers. It's a surefire way to ensure accountability.
Whoops, I don't want that. Let me go to the slide. So just kind of a very brief little look at why we shouldn't procrastinate. Reasons that we procrastinate. There are so many. All of us have different reasons why we put things off. You may not be motivated. It may seem like a daunting task or a daunting assignment that you can't possibly, and you have no idea even where to start. And that is a situation in which you might want to contact your professor and tell them that you are feeling overwhelmed by this particular assignment, and you would, like to schedule some time to go over the instructions or the directions with them. Some of us may feel that we don't know how to do a specific task or assignment. You may perceive that you don't have the skills to manage an assignment. And again, that would be a time when you would, right now I can't manage PowerPoint. That would be a time when you might want to reach out to your instructors. So just bear with me as I get back on track here. Gosh, technical difficulties, I'm sorry. All right, stand by, please. I'm going to stop sharing and try this again. For some reason, this is not. All right, I apologize. I'm trying to get this back and I can't get it back for some reason. That's very odd. Okay, so what I am going to do is shut that down. And bring it back up, I hope. All right, so I need to. Oh gosh, I don't know what the problem is. There we go. Again, my apologies. So we'll just start here. Time management strategies for success. I will share this again. All right, so let me just gather my composure for a second. So this is just a list of time management strategies that you can take a look at. Always prepare to be successful. Do an easier task first. If something is, I mentioned, daunting tasks or assignments that seem overwhelming, do the easiest part of it first, or do maybe an easier task or easier assignment before you tackle the one that is so that is you feel is going to be more difficult for you. If you have any unscheduled time on your calendars, please use that time to work ahead. Reward yourself. Remember to take breaks when you're studying. If you are really having difficulty, remember to talk with someone. You have resources at NOVA, and not only your professors, but there are tutors available on every campus. There are also, if you're not familiar with tutor.com, it's a tutoring service that we have contracted with this company, and they provide tutors 24/7. So you can always go online and ask a question with tutor.com. These are some time management tools that you may be familiar with when you schedule your study time or reading time. The Pomodoro technique is basically you set time to read or study for 25 minutes, and then you take a 5 to 10 minute break. And it's a whole system. They have a little timer that they can sell you on their website, but you can use any timer or your Apple Watch or whatever to break up your study time and your reading time. As I mentioned, you need to build in those breaks. And then this link right here gives you, and this was, I think, published last year in 2023, the top 15 time management apps. If you want to look at some of those, you may find some that may be helpful to you. So this next slide is the Jar of Life. I don't know if you're familiar with Stephen Covey. He published a book many, many years ago called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I'm going to post this presentation after class. I'm not going to show the video here, but it is a very great, impactful, I guess, illustration of why we need to take care of the big things in life first, as opposed to letting all the little details and all the little not so important tasks get in the way of us addressing the big goals or working toward those big goals. So take a look at that during the week when you have a chance. So the message in Stephen Covey's books, as well as in this particular video that I'll post, is that you have to place those important things first. And then somehow you find time to fit in everything, all the important things at least. And some of the things that aren't as important will be, set aside because they're just not that important. He kind of separated, he had 4 quadrants of his time management quadrants theory. And so in the first quadrant, urgent and important, the second quadrant is not urgent, but it is important. the third quadrant is urgent and not important. And the fourth quadrant would be those little things that kind of get dropped by the wayside because they're not urgent, nor are they particularly important. So the journey through college is not going to be easy, but it will be worth it once, for those of you new to college and for those of you coming back to college after earning a previous degree. Any questions about any of this presentation? Nope, we're all good. All right, so let us turn for a moment, or more than a moment, to study skills and test taking. Hopefully this will be more cooperative. Okay. So many students would definitely say that test taking is the bane of their existence, sometimes depending upon the course, of course. So learning, studying, and taking tests. This is the learning cycle that you'll read about in the ebook. The reading cycle is to prepare for your class. When you're reading, and listening to your instructors, you're absorbing new ideas because you have great listening skills. You're taking notes and memorizing, perhaps, and then you're going to review and apply that information that you have studied. And that's how the learning cycle continues throughout. It's just, this is just an illustration of what is entailed in the learning cycle. Is anybody familiar with that? Has anybody seen that before? Yes, Allie's shaking, nodding her head. Good. So what about note taking? How do you guys do when you're in class and you are trying to take notes during the class? Allie, you said before that is it during class that you tend to write too much? Is that what you had mentioned before? Or is that when you're reading?
I did not mention that, but I was going to say I usually just go off the notes that are provided for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a textbook, I'll read and add some extra notes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's kind of, I format it like by slide, I guess, with I forget titles.
Okay, like according to the presentation that the instructor posts afterwards. Okay. And Hunter had his hand raised.
I would say something that I personally do with notes, which I've done since high school, has been like read slides when I can, but a large part of what helps me is just like thoughtful, like making a conscious effort to actually listen to the teacher and kind of summarize what the teacher may be saying, summarize it in my own words. So like the reading is more digestible in a way.
Sure.
And then usually, well, especially now since all my classes are online, the slides will be like available at any time. And then if I need to kind of expand on whatever summary I may have, I'll just review the slides again or review the reading for whichever book I may be reading at the time. But that's what's helped me a lot is trying to make like a personal or like change it to a way that's more like I said, digestible for me personally in a way.
I think your point of listening is so important because sometimes we get in a class and we're so intent on writing down everything the instructors are saying that you miss things, right? I mean, you can't possibly write down everything. You can't catch everything. So sometimes just, listening and then going back through it is helpful. So thank you for saying that. That I think is a very good point. And I did it again. Okay, Kiki, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I was gonna say that was me that said earlier that I was writing too much.
Oh, it was you. I'm
one-
sorry.
For
Okay.
that one particular subject. However, on that slide, you were just showing us the second from the left, so the one that had like the 1, 2, 3, and then ABC, those things. I don't know if that was the example for outline or list, but that is almost exactly what my notes look like, aside from the fact that I wrote 10 pages of like vocabulary essentially, which didn't help. So that,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the one that you have your cursor on currently.
This one right here.
Yeah, and it helps me break things down a little bit more, like Hunter was saying, it's more digestible because, you know, you have the main idea at the top, and then like the sub points, and then I sometimes go into 1, A, B, and C, and then even like sub dashes if there's more that I need to add. And it just, for me visually, it helps me break down the individual ideas and points, because when it's all, you know, like the top left, that to me just looks like I'm reading an essay, whereas on the right, it breaks it up a little bit more, and you can find things easier as well when you go back and look over things.
So are you able to do the outline format during class?
Typically it's when I'm reading something, so that's more of like a textbook note taking. What I was taught in school, I went to Catholic school for like the first couple of years of my school. We were actually taught Cornell notes, and I used those for a long time until I realized I just don't really like them that much.
So this in the bottom corner here is an example of Cornell notes. And so the main ideas are in this left-hand column, and then the supporting information is written in the right-hand column. And then I think this is the main idea here at the bottom. Kiki, am I explaining that correctly? Is that how you learned it?
Yeah, that's correct. I don't know, for me, I just felt like I wasn't really able to be as specific as I wanted to be using Cornell notes. And it would end up getting a little bit messy and disorganized.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up. The third example here, this is just called a concept map, where the main theme or the main subject that you have read about or are studying would be in the middle, and then the supporting ideas information are off to the side in these little branch. It's almost like a diagram kind of note-taking system. So that is also, does anybody use that, a concept map for note-taking? I think for me personally, that would be a way to study, to review notes that I've taken. I don't know if I could do that just during a class. Nancy, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I don't, I can like multitask during class. So a lot of times what I do is like to review the material right before class or the day before class. You know, kind of familiarize myself with whatever we're gonna discuss that day of the class, especially if the class is a difficult class, like psychology is not easy for me. So I try to review before, ask as many questions as I can, and review the material after as well, after the class.
Great.
As soon as after.
A good system, definitely. Any other comments on notes? So take notes in every class, every day, handwrite your notes, and research. There's research out there that says that handwriting notes helps you, I guess, internalize the concepts, to have a better conceptual understanding, as this says, and to apply your material to what you're learning. Better than typing notes. Supposedly and it's not supposedly because it is research-based, handwriting, the physical act of handwriting somehow helps work with everything else we're engaged in, in terms of learning the content, the handwritten notes help. So review your notes before and after class. Go over your notes before class to refresh your memory, which Nancy, you mentioned that you do that. And edit your notes after class. So if you have notes that you're bringing to class with you, or if you've taken notes during class and you feel that you've missed something, you might want to talk to your professor after class, or you might want to go back to the book and fill in the blanks of what you didn't get. Many professors post their Zoom recordings for online classes. So, you know, if you don't have it available anywhere else, I would always make sure that you ask your professor if you feel that you've missed something in the notes. And then interact with your notes, make summary sheets. Someone mentioned that they use flashcards. Some of you do any of you use Quizlet or Khan Academy? A lot of students here at our campus, they find Quizlet and flashcards very, very helpful in learning some of the medical concepts and information that they need. And it would be helpful, I think, to anyone as a way to kind of review important facts in a different format. And it all depends, again, going back to your learning preferences. Any other comments about note-taking? Success stories or not so successful stories about note-taking? Here's some general note-taking tips. Don't try to write down every word. And if you go back to the 4 examples, that list format, that looked like somebody who was trying to write down everything that the instructor was saying. Try to make them as neat and organized as possible. Sometimes it helps immediately after class if you have the time to review the notes and, you know, at that point, fill in any blanks if you can, or even rewrite the notes to further cement the information in your head. It sounds like many of you are already doing this. You've adapted a note-taking technique that works best for you, which is most important. And this suggests to immediately after class, reread and edit if necessary, add, highlight, color, whatever will help you remember the most important information in your notes. So memory strategies for studying. The more mental connections that we make with something we're trying to remember, we will probably be more successful in remembering it. And some of the things that will help with this is using mental imagery, form pictures in your mind to perhaps remember the details of a specific sequence of events or the steps to a particular process that you're learning. If you have artistic ability, you can draw it, you can convert it into a chart or a graph. You can use all of your skills to put that information, the information that you're learning, in a format that is accessible to you and that makes sense to you in a way that you can use that to study and better learn the information. So we're not going to go through that because I want to focus on academic skills a little bit too. So as you're reading your text, this suggests that you summarize each paragraph in the margin of your notes. Think about what you're reading, recycle it in your head, maybe teach it to yourself again. Some students will read their notes out loud to themselves after class or while they're studying, and then apply it to imagined situations. If you're in a clinic, or if you are, whatever career you're choosing, how are you going to apply what you've learned to that job? So imagine yourself in that career and how you would apply the information that you've just learned. So research again says that when you read, generally we should read things a couple of times in order to really internalize it, integrate it to with the other things that we are learning in that particular class. And this suggests that you don't take notes the first time you're reading something. How many of you do take notes when you're reading? Okay. Kiki, anybody else? Hunter mentioned that. Maria? Okay, great. Don't write down every word again, and don't highlight everything. Try to find a balance. Read a paragraph and then summarize it in 1 to 3 sentences. Paraphrase if you can, and summarize as you read. Identify 1 to 3 most important details for each section. Writing down everything is overwhelming, as we said a few minutes ago. So either taking notes in class or when you're reading your texts. Maria, did you have your hand up? Did you have a question?
No, I was just trying to write down, put the hand down.
Okay. And then write down your questions while you're reading, and maybe take those questions to your instructor if you can't find the answer in your notes, in your text, online, in the Canvas class. Chunk information, organize or group separate pieces of information together. When information is chunked like that, and this is something, a learning strategy that they use K through 12 and post-secondary, when it's chunked into groups, it makes it easier to remember because you're remembering the group, and it makes it easier to remember what is in that particular chunk of information. And essentially, smaller bits of information are easier to remember than big bits. Repeat, 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 as this slide says. Write out the items to be memorized if you have to memorize things over and over again. Again, writing and internalizing that information. Actively write the facts in lists to improve recall. Do not just copy the list of facts. Learn it actively, and then try writing it again and again. And make an association. So this is, you've written your notes, you've repeated, you've written your notes maybe once or twice, you've added to them, and now you want to make an association with the information that you're learning. Recall what you know and make a connection to that particular fact. Make a connection to the new information so you can remember it more efficiently. How many of you use mnemonics when you're studying? Is anybody familiar with mnemonics? Okay, I will give you some examples. So a mnemonic is, some of you may recall, maybe, I don't know, but there used to be a mnemonic for remembering the names of the planets. And it was my very educated mother just showed me 9 planets or something like that. And that was when we still had 9 planets. Now I think we have 8. Because what was it? Mercury is no longer a planet. Is that what happened several years ago? Anyway, so that's an example of, oh, thank you. That's an example of a mnemonic. This slide shows you a mnemonic to remember the order of operations in a math algebra problem, for example. So when you are solving a problem, you do what's in the parentheses first, and then you address the exponents, then multiply and divide, and then addition and subtraction. So that is the PEDMAS mnemonic. Oh, here it is right here in front of me. My very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas, so it has changed. Pluto is still at the bottom there. The nursing process, our nursing students here, this is one of the first things they learn, and they refer to this as ADPI. So the steps of the nursing process are assessment, diagnosis, planning, I can't read all of this, something and evaluation. So assessment, diagnosis, planning, I think that might be implementation, and then evaluation. So that just gives you an idea of what mnemonics are. And you'll make up your own mnemonics depending upon if you find them helpful and depending upon what you're studying, of course. Some more examples, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's another way to remember the order of operations that I just showed you. This is an example of mnemonics for learning cranial nerves, which that looks a little overwhelming to me. And then Roy G. Biv. Is anybody familiar with that from when you were children? Colors of the Rainbow. So that may be one of the first mnemonics that you have ever learned. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet for rainbow colors. So as you are interacting with your information, talk it out, read aloud to yourself, recite or read your notes to yourself. Put things in your own words. After you've read a chapter, try to maybe summarize it in your own words. Read your notes, your book out loud. Pretend to teach the material to another student or to somebody else. Some students find it helpful to record themselves and then listen to it. The more you practice, the more you will remember. Flashcards, rereading the material out loud, chunking the information, breaking it into segments, writing summaries of your lectures, and use of mnemonics would, may be helpful for you. This is a visual representation of how well we learn and how well we absorb information. So for just listening to a lecture, you may, and without taking notes or really engaging in any way, you may recall 5% of that information and so on down the line here. When you're actually teaching others or even just, reciting things out loud to yourself, you retain 90% of the information that you're learning. So it is important to remember this. You're not just, you want to be interactive with your notes and with your reading material. You don't just want to read those chapters and review the notes. Make them kind of living documents for you, so you are interacting with them and really, again, I've used this term before, but internalizing the information that you are learning. Interactive study materials, someone mentioned flashcards, I believe. Has anyone made foldables? I've never done that, but that is another way that you can kind of organize notes or key facts in a particular class. And this, I think, gives you a link to how to do foldables. There are in our online book, and probably in many of your ebooks that you have for your classes, there may be interactive links that can help you study and learn the information. So here are some links to how to make foldables. If you, take a look at that and see if that may be a good way for you to break up the information and another way to look at it and internalize it. So the more mental connections we have, and that's what all of this is about, the flashcards, the rereading, reading out loud, and the more mental connections we have, the more successful we'll be in remembering the information. So there we talked quickly about several study strategies, using mental imagery, summarizing your notes, chunking the information, make lists, repeat your, reread it, rewrite it, try mnemonics if you think that a mnemonic would help you learn a process or something specific in one of your classes. Create those flashcards or interactive study materials. Don't forget the tutoring resources that we have here at NOVA. Question, how many of you enjoy working with groups, study groups? Have any of you used or participated in study groups, and have you found them helpful? Nobody has tried? Study groups can be either, students can either have said that they're either very helpful or they stay away from them entirely, because sometimes they've had the experience of someone in the study group kind of monopolizing the discussions and the study time. So for some students, it's very helpful if, depending upon who you have chosen to be part of your study group, it can be very helpful. And also, you know, if it's not working out for you, if you do form a study group and it doesn't work out, you can always just say, it's not working for me right now, and bow out of that particular study strategy. So stay up to date with your reading, review your class notes, apply the information in different ways, visualize it, and make time to study every day. And please don't wait to the last minute. That's the worst. I mean, you may retain it for the test, but you may not have it. You may not retain it for the final exam. So just make time to study and internalize that information. If you're studying right before the test, so this would be a study plan that you would make. Schedule a study time, find a quiet space, make sure you're taking those breaks. Remember the Pomodoro technique. Study, read for 25 to 30 minutes, take a 5 to 10 minute break, and then come back to it. If your instructor offers review classes, take advantage of those. It can be very helpful. If you're tired when you're reading or studying, you may make careless errors and mistakes. You may misread much of the information or forget what you've studied. So try to remember to build rest into your study plan. Again, this goes back to the study groups topic. Make sure you're selecting quality classmates, and be intentional about the purpose of each meeting of the study group, because you don't want it to turn into a social experience. 5-day test preparation plan outlines how to go about creating that. I won't go through all of the details of this, but it could be very helpful. So please take a look at that. As I said, this will be posted after class. So I want to focus just for a minute on the day right before the test. Review the notes that you have written from day 3 of this 5-day plan. Review your questions and answers from the second day. If the test is later in the afternoon, then you could do a brief review the morning of the test, but it is recommended that you don't study the morning of a test, especially if that test is in the morning. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. If the test is later in the afternoon, like a late 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock class, you might want to do a brief review in the morning, but then put it away so you're not reviewing things right before you get into that test. So this is important. On the day of the test, arrive early, but don't arrive too early. What could happen if you get into the class too early on the day of a test? Has anyone had a negative experience by doing that? One thing that could happen is that if you are in class and you're there like 20, 30 minutes ahead of time, students are coming in, you may be tempted to go over that material like immediately before the test, which is not a good idea. And with other students coming into the class, they're going to be talking about the test and what items they think will be on the test and what the answers to those items, those test items might be. So you may be in that testing situation and feeling very prepared and certain of the information, but you overhear your classmates talking about a particular fact and they're throwing out a different answer while they're talking to each other. That could throw you off. That might cause you to second guess yourself and what you thought the answer to that particular question was. So just be mindful. If you do get into class early, they recommend not more than 5 to 15 minutes early before the class starts. And if you can, if possible, sit alone and screen out those conversations that your classmates are having.
Mhm.
When you get the test, preview the test, calculate how many items are on the test, and plan a strategy. How many minutes are you going to spend on each test item? Answer the questions that you know immediately without any hesitation. Answer those questions first. If you don't know it, skip it and then go back to the ones that you skipped. Many of us feel test anxiety immediately before a test or leading up to the test. It's going to interfere with your ability to recall the things you've learned. It may, when you're anxious, it may cause you to doubt what you know and what you have learned. So this link will provide some suggestions for managing test anxiety before an exam or quiz. Does anyone in class have any recommendations, or have you had any success with a particular strategy to reduce your test anxiety? No one? Well, hopefully this will provide you with some strategies. Yes, AJ, thank you.
I think, like the last slide said, not getting there too early. Because if you're like sitting there for 25 minutes, a half hour before your test, you might hype yourself up more in your mind and get more.
Exactly. Yeah. Very good point. Thank you, AJ. That just would, it will serve to increase your anxiety for sure. Types of test questions. What type of questions or what test format do you prefer? Multiple choice, essay, short answer, open response questions, the good old matching test questions, or true and false. Does anybody have any preference in terms of test type or format? Sabrine?
Yeah, so personally, I prefer essay type of question because in there I can express like the way that I understand more by writing.
Right. Yes. Many students say that the essay format gives them a chance to really fully respond to the question. Sabrine, do you have any process that you do before writing the answer to an essay question? Do you do like a brief outline of what you want to include in that essay?
Actually, like, so when I study, I'm like medical student, so like it's like a lot of memorization. Like, so from my past experience, I took bio classes, and so like most of them are like more of like not understanding the concept. In addition to that, you have to like memorize it. So
yes,
when I'm studying, I memorize a lot. So for me, like it's easy like to write it down. I memorized it. So like I just wrote down like what I memorized. So that way it's gonna be easy for me.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And when you're memorizing, just curious, do you use any mnemonic devices for what you're memorizing?
No, I just like need like silent place and coffee. Yeah.
You have your own process.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Any thoughts on test format? Okay, let's look at some types of test questions. So for multiple choice strategies, they recommend, they being educators, when you're given your test for in-person classes, obviously, they suggest that you take your non-writing hand and you cover all the choices for that first question. For example, you cover all the possible answers. And if you know the answer right away, I mentioned this before, answer it. If the answer that you thought it should be is not there, that would be one that you would skip and go back to later. If there's more than one choice possible, skip that. And the impossible ones that you would have to take a wild guess on, they suggest that you skip that too. So the message here is what I said before, that you answer the questions that you know right off the bat, no hesitation, and then go through those and then go back and answer the ones that you were uncertain of. If you don't know the answers right away, it could be helpful to weed out absolute words. And absolute words are, as shown in this chart, words like always, everyone, nobody, never. Those are absolute words. And very often in a multiple choice test or even a true and false test, anything with an absolute word in it would probably be false in a true and false test, or it would not be the answer you'd select in a multiple choice exam. So remember that. The absolute words usually make the sentence or the question false. So here's an example of an absolute test item. So people with chronic disease can be described as inevitably in pain, always grouchy, never able to walk, or needing more assistance. So what do you think the answer would be? You have no idea. You know, you're not a medical professional. But what answer would you choose for this particular question?
A.
No, that would not be correct.
D.
And why? Why would D be the correct answer? That's correct. Why did you choose D?
I don't know, because it kind of implies that the person not feeling well might need more assistance. I don't know.
Right, right. So this is inevitably in pain would be that someone with a chronic disease would always, and it's inevitable that they would be in pain all the time. So that's an absolute word. So that would be one that would probably be false. Always grouchy, always is an absolute word. So you would want to put that would not be the answer. Never able to walk, another absolute word. So your three absolute words here are inevitably, always, and never. D, needing more assistance, that's more reasonable. So from time to time, or even often, people with chronic disease may need more assistance. They're not saying that they always need more assistance. So that's one example of choices that include absolute words, and why you would look for the choice that is more, that allows some options like needing more assistance. So we can't really say that people are always grouchy or inevitably in pain. So the answer is D, needing more assistance. Here's another example. The result of this particular study showed that all people suffer from SPAC. We don't know what SPAC is. All people suffer from it. No people suffer from SPAC. SPAC never occurs in young people, or SPAC may be found in older people. So what would the answer to this be? None of us know at this point what SPAC is. So what would you choose here as an answer?
All A.
No, because all is an absolute word, right?
It's a D.
Is D.
D, right. So SPAC may be found in older people, exactly. So choices A, B, and C contain the absolute words all, no, and never. And again, they limit too many options. So they would not be a good choice for the answer, because it's very rare that the absolute word would be correct in a testing situation. The correct choice is more general because it contained the word may. So that's a good clue for you when you're taking these tests. Another type of test question is the umbrella question or fusion question. Does anyone know what that refers to? The definition here is that umbrella option, they're called umbrella options because other options fall within their scope. So an example, which of the following is a part of a car? Your choices are oil filter, engine, carburetor, or air filter. Which do you think would be the correct answer? And we're looking at umbrella questions now.
B.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
B, engine.
Correct. Yes. And why? Why did you choose B?
Engine is the car.
So
No,
all
the rest,
these-
the
yeah,
rest is not major part of the car.
right. The
Engine.
oil filter, the carburetor, the air filter are all part of the engine.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is, do you see how that is an example of an umbrella question? So you would choose engine. So an explanation, and you get the point. The engine is a more general term. You know that all of those parts of the car fall within the engine or a part of the engine. So another question, which of the following is a part of the human leg? Another umbrella question. Is it the femur, the thigh, the quadriceps, or the hamstrings? We know that all of these 4 choices are part of the human leg. Which would be the answer to this question, to this umbrella question?
B.
It would be, yeah, B.
Hi.
The thigh. Yeah, I can't, I don't know if you're saying B or D. It is, the thigh is the correct answer because the femur, the quadriceps, and the hamstrings are all part of the thigh. So does that, this is the last one of these examples. Which of the following is found in the United States? Richmond, Roanoke, Lynchburg, or Virginia?
C, Virginia.
Exactly.
Virginia.
Right, because all of these other 3 cities are located in Virginia. So then we're moving on from the umbrella questions to unfamiliar words. So as this says, some multiple choice questions may be phrased differently using words that you may never have heard of or studied. If you see that, many students may, think, oh my goodness, what is this? And it kind of starts that test anxiety going. This would be another test of your deductive reasoning. If you ignore the strange word, if there's a weird term in there that you don't know, you haven't read about, you haven't studied, if you ignore that word, would the question still make sense? can you answer it without knowing what that particular word means? For example, if you were treating a patient with Koop's disease, let me restate that. You're a medical professional or a medical student. You're treating a patient with Koop's disease. When comparing co-Tylenol to bi-Tylenol, which of the following would be the most appropriate intervention for this patient? Co-Tylenol is more appropriate. Bi-Tylenol is more appropriate. Bi-Tylenol is not as appropriate, or both A and B. Any guesses?
D?
Did you say D as in dog?
Yes.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the correct answer because they both can't be more appropriate. If it was both A and B, it says that co-Tylenol is more appropriate and that bi-Tylenol is more appropriate. So the answer would be, you don't know, you've never heard of co-Tylenol or bi-Tylenol, you don't know what this disease is, they're all made up words, but it doesn't matter because the answer can't be D, as we said, because you're asked to choose between either co-Tylenol or bi-Tylenol. It can't be A or C because they say the same thing. So it only leaves B as the answer. Bi-Tylenol is more appropriate. So this type of question requires your attention in that you need to focus on these choices that you're given and make sure that you're choosing the one that is the obviously the most appropriate answer. So in other words, be by deductive and by, being deductive and looking at these choices, you rule out these two right away, right? Because they can't both be more appropriate. So if you take those out and then this one says the same thing basically as that one. I'm sorry, this one would be the choice. I'm getting confused with my own slide here. So B is the answer, even though you don't have any idea what these words are or what they mean. So the more complex test question is going to ask you to prioritize the answers in some order, use your deductive reasoning, use any content knowledge that you're bringing to the test, and focus only on the answers that are given. Don't be, again, if you don't see that answer that you think it would be correct, just skip the test question and come back to it later. And don't get stumped if the answer that you thought it should be is not in the list of options. Again, skip that, go back when you have, later in the test and try to answer it as best you can. So when you're taking multiple choice tests, you want to eliminate as many answers as possible. Beware of the use of negative terms. Use the wording of the question or answer as a clue to eliminate possibilities and avoid answers that seem out of context. So we only have a few minutes left. For true and false, we mentioned the absolute words a couple of slides ago. So again, in true and false test items, usually everyone, no one, those absolute words, never, always, those will be false. And your more general words like frequently, usually, sometimes, those are usually true. So you want to look for a term or a question that doesn't allow for any exceptions, that uses an absolute word, will generally be false. That's just a good rule of thumb. So you look for the more general words. You may run across a test item that has a false double negative. So that is, those can be very confusing. So an example of that is the test item, for instance, if you were it's a psychology class and you're studying whether or not, how people react to snakes. So a test question might be, most people are not unafraid of snakes. So this is a little tricky. So you have double negatives here. Most people are not unafraid of snakes. So here you would cross out the not and the un, cross out those double negatives, and what you get is most people are afraid of snakes. So that test item would probably be true because it says most, it doesn't say all. And crossing out those double negatives, you realize that that is, if you're not unafraid of a snake, then you are afraid of a snake. So that's why you have to cross out the double negatives. Similarly, the next question, most students would not be dissatisfied by having a 4.0 average. Cross out those double negatives, which would be not and dis, and you have most students would be satisfied by having a 4.0 average. So again, cross out the double negatives and remember to avoid those absolute words. So for just quickly answer these true and false questions, it is never not a bad idea to sleep late. So what would that be, true or false? This is an example of a double negative.
False.
That way, if you cross out never and not, it would be true, right? Oops, sorry. Shoot. If you cross out never and not, it would say it is a bad idea to sleep late. So that would be a true statement. People in the Middle Ages were always short. True or false?
False.
Always is an absolute word, so that would be false. Some of the Shawnee Indians were astrologers. That has the word some in it, so that would probably be true. It doesn't say all of the Shawnee Indians were astrologers. All of the students have a GPA over 2.5. All is an example of an absolute word, so that would be false. So I think you probably get that idea. So for matching tests, and I don't think many of us have or give matching tests anymore. If you are presented with a matching test, this just gives you some hints. Read all the items in both columns. Start by making the matches that you are absolutely positively sure about. Again, skipping the ones that you are not so sure about. For essay questions, which we talked about a minute ago, it helps if you time yourself, right? You figure out the time that's allotted for the test, the number of questions, and how long you are going to give yourself to answer each part of the test, each section of the test. So for essay questions, if you have the time, try to do a quick, very small, very brief outline just to organize your thoughts. Read the questions carefully. Watch out for those instruction words in essay tests, essay questions, because if they tell you to describe or list or explain, make sure you're doing what they're asking you to do in that question. Check your spelling always, and you'll hear that from me many, many times during this class. Make sure you are using, when possible, and it's not always possible on a test. Make sure that you are using grammar check, spell check, checking your punctuation. That's very important. So this is the quote strategy for essay tests. Look for direction. Underline those words that will help you focus on ideas to develop your answers. Write the fact, list the facts and write your answers. Again, decide how much time you have, and then allow it. Hopefully you'll have allowed time to go over your test answers before submitting your test. So just a review, don't study on the morning of the test. Arrive early, but not too early. Sit alone if you can, so you're not distracted or allow yourself to be confused by conversations that you hear your classmates having. Make sure that you are calculating the time and the number of questions before you start the test. Go with your strength first. If it's a test it has several sections like multiple choice, essay, etc. Go with your strength first and answer those multiple choice questions, for example, the ones that you know, skipping the ones that you don't know, and then either going back and answering the ones that you didn't know, or going on to the next section, which may be essay or true and false. Make sure you are taking a breath, trying to quiet any test anxiety you may be feeling, and read the question thoroughly, because sometimes our nerves make us, our anxiety may make us miss some good, important contextual clues in that particular test question. The rest of this just gives you some resources and videos that are available to you. So, sorry, keep starting my video and stopping my video. I just want to show you, and I promise I'll be quick. So this week's assignment is the time management assignment. You can pull that up quickly. So, okay. So this week you will be doing the setting goals quiz, as well as the time management assignment and the understanding academic skills and test taking quiz. The time management assignment is a spreadsheet that you will be completing. And you're going to be recording your time from today through next Monday evening, when this is due. All these assignments and the two quizzes, this assignment, the two quizzes are due next Monday evening at 11:59. So this particular assignment is you're going to record your time, you're going to analyze your time, and then you are going to create a plan for yourself. And let me show you an example. So this, when you open the spreadsheet in Canvas, this is what you will see. It is, you are going to complete this table. It's divided into 4 columns: the activity, the description, the hours per week that you spent doing that particular activity, and the percentage of time. This is based on 168 hours in a week. Try to get as close to 168 hours as possible. You're going to include class time, your job, your studying, commute time, extracurricular activities, family activities, and responsibilities. So this example gives you, some examples that you all might use, and there may be some things that are not listed here that you would want to include in your assignment. So you're going to complete that first. That is sheet 1. That's worksheet 1 of this spreadsheet. And then you're going to create a semester calendar. This is similar to some of the calendars that we looked at earlier today in our class. You're going to complete your semester calendar, and then you're going to answer these 3 questions here about your time. I won't go into, if you have specific questions about this, I know we are at time. I can go over the questions or answer your questions. I do want to give you an example before we leave of what this is going to look like. So this is where you're recording. This is your schedule, and then the questions. I thought this would open up the other worksheet, but it doesn't. Let me. Okay, this is going to do it. Okay, so what will happen is you're going to complete this. You're going to complete the 168 hours recording your time from now until next Monday night. You're going to record it in this table. When you complete this table, and this is what's not popping up for me right now, but I will provide a couple of examples in Canvas after class. When you complete this, worksheet 2 is actually a pie chart that is automatically populated by this information. And again, I will post an example of that. So you need to complete worksheet 1. Worksheet 2 is the pie chart that will pull the information from what you have in the first worksheet into a visual depiction of what your time, where you're spending your time. You don't need to do anything to create that pie chart. It's created automatically through Excel magic. What you will do after you complete your recording of your time is you're going to create your semester calendar. Be sure that you are reading the instructions carefully and that you answer the 3 questions at the bottom at the end of this assignment completely and comprehensively, because this semester calendar that you create and your answers are very important in this particular assignment. And I think we will end for the day since we are over time by now. Do any of you have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything we discussed or about this week's assignments?
Yeah, Professor, question. How do you take attendance again?
How do I take attendance? So I go through the attendance is recorded in Zoom. So I go through the Zoom participants list and complete attendance that way. Sometimes I would ask students to put their names in chat, but the Zoom, I think, is that record is more accurate. And it's also why I urge you that if you are using something, if your screen name is something like iPhone or something that doesn't say your actual name, please make sure you let me know who that is, right? So if your screen name is iPhone 123, make sure that you attach your name to that somehow, even if you just send me an email that says this is my login for Canvas. I would appreciate it if it was your first and last name, but I know some of you don't have, have different situations, and you may not have your first and last name as your login ID. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Hey, are you getting my direct messages I'm sending?
Your direct messages in chat?
Yeah.
I did not. Is the percentage supposed to equal 100 based off the hours? Yes. You mean up here, right here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it should be 100%.
Okay.
Okay.
And can you explain a little bit more about the calendar?
The semester calendar? Sure.
Yeah.
So what you will do, so you've recorded your time, and here you're going to kind of distribute that time over your semester calendar. So for instance, if Sunday you have scheduled up here, I don't know, let's go with work. So say you work 20 hours a week, you're going to indicate here Monday through Friday or Sunday through Saturday, how many hours you worked each day. Okay, and the same thing for using the putting in your class time. So indicate on like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you have your biology class from 2 to 4. You are going to indicate what you're doing during the week, what study time you are allocating overall for all of your classes. Or you could do it more specifically in the calendar. You could say on Tuesday night, I'm going to be studying for my biology exam. So you, as specific as possible, how you are going to allocate the time that is recorded in the first worksheet, how you're going to allocate that time and across the 7 days, across the week. Did that answer your question, Ibrahim?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Is that clear? I may not have been clear.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, please, as you start this and go through this assignment, please let me know if you have any questions or if something is not clear.
Professor, I have a question. So like I don't understand, what are we gonna like record on the first worksheet? What time are we gonna record? That's not clear for me.
Okay, so let me see how I could explain this. So this right here, you're going to record, how many classes are you taking? How many credits?
I'm taking 3 classes.
Okay, so for each credit of a 15-week course, this gives you instruction here. Do you see this?
Yeah.
Do you see the table?
Yeah, I can see, but it's not clear. I cannot read it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So let me see if I zoom in. How's that?
Yeah, I can see it now. I can read it now.
Okay. So this is how you're going to divide your time and record your time. So the times you're in class. So for each credit of a 15-week course, each credit of a 15-week course equals 1 hour a week. How many hours a week do you work? You're going to be recording that. This percentage column, and I did not say that earlier, you record the hours per week, and it's the spreadsheet does the work of coming up with a percentage, right? So you put a number here, say 40 hours per week, it's going to give you automatically the percentage of time of that 168 hours in a week. It's going to give you the percentage automatically. You don't need to calculate the percentage yourself.
Okay.
And then these are examples. These, you might not have all of these things in your record of time for the next week. So fill it in for you, the activities that you're involved in. If you attend, if there are religious services, or if you are going to the gym, that anything that you are doing throughout the week, the point is for you to see where you're spending your time.
Yeah, so like you're saying that we can edit this table, like the description with whatever we are doing.
Yeah, yes. And I can, if you want, for those of you who want to stay, I can open up actual assignment and show you how this works. For those who do not want to stay, you're welcome to leave.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can do this. And for those of you, if anybody has a question other than what I'm going to review right now, feel free to send me an email and we'll schedule a time to talk about it. Thank you. And I'm going to go off video for a minute and pull up an example for you to see, okay? I'll be right back. G, did you have a question before?
Excuse me, but can I have some example for recording? For example, I have activity class time, for example, like that. How we are recording over that, correct?
So you are going to use this. Do you see this here that says each credit of a 15-week
So,
course equals 1 hour per week?
excuse me, so can you give us an example for this graph?
Yes, I will. I will post an example of completed assignments that students have done in the past. But right now I want to show, I was going to show you how this will work. If I can do that. Okay. Kiki, you have your hand up. What is your question?
Yes, unrelated to this, I just wanted to let you know that I did send you an email yesterday, just with an unrelated question. So just to
Okay.
make you aware of that, but I recall in the syllabus to give you about 72 hours. So I look
Yes.
forward to your response, but I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Everyone
Okay.
have a great week. Thank
I
you.
will look. Thank you. Thanks, Kiki. All right, let me go back to Canvas. Just stand by, everybody. Oh, we don't have that example. Okay, I got it. Ibrahim, did you have a question? I see your hand up.
I was just gonna ask you to add me to the attendance because I came a little bit late due to internet connection issues.
Okay, it does show that in Zoom. It shows when you come in and leave. So I will have that, even though you came in late.
Okay, thank you.
But thank you for bringing that up. So let me go back here. I think I'm logged in as a student now. There we go. Okay, just bear with me. G, could you do me a favor? Are you there? I am unable to access this from the student view. So let me try one more thing. Table editing. Yeah, it is not letting me get in there to show you from the student's perspective what you would see. If any of you are would like to open up the assignment and pull up the spreadsheet, I can walk you through it that way, which might be the only way we're going to be able to do this, because I am unable to, as I said, log in as a student.
Yeah, like I mean, if you can do that, you can post it on Canvas, like for everyone as an example.